podcast where I mostly talk about knitting, what's on my needles, what's come off my needles, what I would like to put on my needles, a little bit of crochet, and just whatever other little crafty things that I am currently dabbling in, which that comes and goes. It's been a little while. I really suppose that after all this time, I should figure out that this really is more or less a quarterly podcast. I think the last episode that I did, I was just starting to talk about how spring was around the corner. Well, spring has more or less just ended, and we are now in that kind of in between very late spring, very early summer. It is 3rd of June. And I say the date almost every single time, but you probably will be watching this a little further on into the month, hopefully, because I am the only one who edits my podcast episodes, my videos. I am still learning how to do this. I am primarily a stay-at-home mom, and we have a lot going on currently in this stage of life in our house. Yeah, so I suppose we can dive into, well, I guess finished objects. I think I mentioned this in the last episode that I did, and I actually don't know, this might be episode 10 that we are on, maybe? I think the last one I filmed was 9, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't get around to doing these as often as I would like, unfortunately. But I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in the last episode that I filmed. I was thinking about casting on a pattern by Pip and Pin called the Cala Top, or really it's the Cala Crop Top, I guess. I think that's what the hashtag is. And it is part of a little collection that they released maybe a couple of years ago now. And I believe they called it the Rainforest Knits, in which you could do a crop top, a more, a full top, and a dress, like a little sweater dress sort of thing. And it was all basically the same pattern, just varying lengths and a few different options for the sleeves and the waist and all of that. And I've been holding on to the pattern itself for a while. I've really liked the idea of it. And I've really liked the idea of crop tops, but I've never really had the guts to make one for myself, because I've never really felt like I have the correct body type to wear a crop top. But I love the way they look on pretty much everybody, no matter what size they are. So I don't know why I've had it in my head that I shouldn't wear them. So I did. I made one. And this is it. I love this. I love it so much. I'm so glad that I made it. I used the yarn Verdigris by Fiber for the People. You can see it has kind of, I don't know if you would call this top motif like a lace. Well, I guess it mostly is. This was really fun. So it's the same. The construction is fairly interesting. I've never made anything like this before. So you knit the top. You knit this, we'll call it lace, for the front panel, and then you put those stitches on hold, and then you knit the back. Or no, you knit the top. What do? You knit the top, you put those stitches on hold. Oh, and then you cast on along the top, and you do that. And then you join it all in the round and you go together. And it's just really fun. I've never made anything with that particular kind of construction before. And it was very interesting. I felt like it both flew by really quickly and dragged on at the same time. And I don't really know why, because the yarn was a joy to work with. The needle size was not minuscule, and I mean it's cropped and it has short sleeves, So all in all, it really didn't take me that long. I think I just kept putting it down for extended periods of time, and then I would come back and remember that I hadn't really done a whole lot before I put it down, because things were just really busy. But it's done now, and it's just in time, and I think I should be able to get away with wearing this on some of the cooler days in the summer, or if I know that I'm going to be in a really air-conditioned environment. The sleeves, there were two options for the sleeves. One was you could do a little bit of ribbing down, and the other was to do what I did, which was an I-cord bind off, which I have never done. I've never done an I-cord bind off before, and I found that it took a little bit, because you're it's kind of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You're kind of knitting and then slipping what you just did, and it's back and forth a lot, but it was very interesting, and it looks very clean. It's very neat looking. So for the body, I used, the colorway is Verdigris, which is by Fiber for the People. I believe it was on her Polworth base, which I think is kind of akin to a 4-ply, if not actually a 4-ply, but it's 100% Polworth wool. And I feel like there was something else, but I mean, both yarns are fingering weight. The contrast color that I used for the I-cord for the sleeves is some, she calls it Kalamata now. It went by another name, which now I can't remember, but it doesn't matter because that's not what it's called. Kalamata, which is on a merino nylon 4-ply. And I just thought that they complemented each other very well. I actually used the same yarn in a set of socks that I made for my sister. And I just enjoyed it so much that I didn't want to make the socks again, but I was like, you know what? We'll give it a try. I'll stand up without my chair behind me and try to give a little bit of a better view. My setup here, though I am thankful to have a kind of a separate room, a room that is not occupied 100% by children or a large human. This is our spare room that we use for extra storage and guests. I am very thankful for that, because we have a very small house and there's not a lot of options as far as storage is concerned. And I've been able to turn it into my own little nook for all of my crafting and such, but it is small. So bear with me while I try to wiggle in to a good spot here. Okay, so you're not going to be able to see my face a little bit. I'll be probably dipping up and down, but I knit the size large. I didn't really swatch, I will be 100% honest. I kind of took a chance, an educated guess, I suppose, if you will, because I knit the Mame cardigan, which was also by Pip Pin, and I also knit the size large, going off of the designer Megan. She, judging by the pictures of her, she said that she had knit and was modeling a size large. And I did swatch for that one, and it fit pretty much perfectly. And again, she mentioned that she knit and was modeling a size large. So I don't know. I said, you know, we'll just go for it. It's not that much of a project. It's small. It does have a tiny little bit. I don't think you can see towards the very bottom down here. Wants to focus on all my stuff that way. Right in here, it has the tiniest little bit of waist shaping. Just a little bit, just to bring it in. And you had the option to sew in an elastic waist around the ribbing down here. And I just want to say, I just want to say, if I sound a little bit out of breath, I am. I have been out of breath doing a lot of very simple things lately. And that is because I am, tomorrow, 15 weeks pregnant with my third baby. And growing babies gets me out of breath when I do a lot of standing up and moving around, and oh my goodness, don't get me started about going up and down the stairs. Anyways, nobody else knows, at least not. I've been telling people face to face, more or less, or over text, for the people who are more important and around more often in our personal lives. People that, you know, you would want to tell really super big important life news to, like before it got put, you know, out for Joe Schmo, who you met 3 years ago and have never said 3 words to, but you're friends on Facebook, you know. So we haven't announced anything on any actual large, where did he go, social media outlets, and I honestly don't really care too much anyways, because the majority of people on there I don't really interact with on a regular basis or at all, and there's really just a very small handful of people who I use platforms like Facebook and stuff to actually keep in touch with and get to delight in all of their, you know, new life things and that sort of thing. Just a small handful of people that I actually know who will be delighted to find out that way. So we've just kept it to ourselves and to our close little circle around us. But that's been the big thing. My biggest project that I've been making, my newest, most intense work in progress. I will also tell you guys, pregnancy brain is, it's bad the first time, and then it kind of fuzzles out into mom brain because you're taking care of a person and thinking about a lot of things. Then if you have a second kid, pregnancy brain does come back, and it just kind of like piggybacks onto mom brain, and so on and so forth. So now this is the third time around, my third dose of pregnancy brain on top of 2-time mom brain, and I'm a joy to be around. I'm very forgetful. So that is my one and only, it's not my one and only finished object. Since I have now kind of let those little beans, if you will, spill, there is one other finished object that I have. It has not been blocked. It still has stitch markers. Because I was counting, I think the increase and the decrease had a specific like row repeat pattern, and I just wanted to double check and be sure that I was not skipping something. But I made the Beloved, I believe it's called, the Beloved. It's a baby bonnet, and the pattern is found on Tin Can Knits. I'm trying to remember if it was free. I don't think it was free. I think it might have been like $5 or something. And I mean, it came in, it's just like every other Tin Can Knits pattern. It comes in like 5 gazillion sizes, so you can make one for your infant, for your toddler, for your teenager, for yourself, and for a giant as well. And I knit this out of a hank that I had laying around. I had grabbed this on one of the Fiber for the People updates a really long time ago. And I don't know what prompted me to get it, because typically these are not the normal colors that I spring for. I mean, I love purple. I love purple to death. It is fantastic and it makes me very, very happy. But pink is not my super favorite. Pink's not, like, I do like pink, I enjoy pink, but when it comes to purple, a kind of pinky purple, I like more dark, super bold colors. So again, I don't know what caused me to just jump on this, but I did. And this is on her, it's a DK weight MCN merino cashmere, MCN, yeah, merino cashmere nylon base, and it's called Granny's Tea Dress. And after sitting there for a while, and after we found out the gender of our bebe, I said, you know what? Actually, this hank was meant to be this. It was meant to be this. And so, not only did I with the Cala Crop learn how to do an I-cord bind off, I also, for the first time ever, because I've never had a pattern that I needed to do this for, did just an I-cord in general for the little straps, I guess the straps on them on it. So there's that. Baby girl has one knit thing. I made blankets for my boys. I really didn't make them any clothing or accessories. Later on, I made my first son hats. I crocheted him hats because I was guaranteed to be able to finish those very quickly and have them actually fit his head by the time they were done, because they grow so fast. They grow so fast. But for whatever reason, apart from blankets, I really was never bit by the bug, other than making maybe like a sweater, which I tried, and again, made the sweater, got one arm done on the sweater, tried the sweater on the kid that it was meant to be for, only to find out that between the time that first arm went on and I had cast on everything, my son had grown and outgrown the sweater I was currently making. So, but this time around, I don't know what's different, but I want to make all of the things. I probably won't, because there's a lot of time constraints. I am busy. I have 2 very busy boys. I am the primary caregiver in this household. Life is a little crazy, but you know what? I really want to make a cute little baby cardigan. And so if you guys have any suggestions on your favorite baby pattern designers for hats or booties or sweaters or cardigans or whatever, please let me know in the comments. I would love to take a look at them, because I have been bit by the baby bug here, and I'm just excited. Also, I feel like 1 million people are pregnant right now, and it's just kind of so weird to me how it goes in waves. It's really rainy today. Well, it's not really rainy. It's just very overcast and gloomy and peaceful. And outside the air smells like brined seaweed, but also it's very sweet, which is, it's really quite wonderful. So I am drinking tea. I'm having a bit of chai tea, and I tried to kind of go almost a latte route, which will probably come back and bite me in the butt later, literally, but for now it's pretty good. But I'm kind of thinking, I don't usually do this. Usually I just dunk a tea bag in the water, don't put anything else in there, maybe a little bit of honey sometimes, but then I just let it sit there. I'm really bad about taking my tea bags out. I don't really mind if my tea gets bitter. I am obviously not English. But this one I feel like I probably should put 2 tea bags in. It needs to be stronger. Drinking it out of a mug that I actually painted myself. Over Christmas, my sister and I went to, I believe it's called the Firestone Cafe, and it's in downtown Manchester, if you are ever out and about and around. And there you can go and you pick a piece of pottery. Don't mind my lipstick. And you can paint it whatever color you want, and then they take it and they glaze it and they put it in their kiln, and they call you and then you pick it up. And it's just, I am no ceramic artist. I also obviously, I didn't make it. I am not a painter, but the colors just made me happy, and it just makes me happy. And it was just a really fun experience to have with my sister, who I don't get to see very often either. So if you're ever in the area of downtown Manchester, or it seems like a lot of cities, these types of things are popping up, I definitely would recommend that sort of experience because it's just really fun. And maybe 2 tea bags next time if I do this again. One of the reasons why I'm on a little bit of a time constraint as far as making baby things for my own baby is because of this current work in progress, which I actually am putting together for my sister-in-law, who is pregnant with her first baby, which is very, very exciting. A long time ago, I had actually made a blanket kind of in a rainbow format for friends of ours who were having their first child, except with every single row that I added and every new color that was there, I got really, really attached to it. And in the end, I couldn't part with it because I fell in love with the blanket, and I've carried it around since then. And it has since then become part of my children's little throw repertoire. And my sister-in-law, every single time that she has seen it in the past years, just absolutely adores it and says, someday, if I have a baby, I would love for you to make a blanket like this for me. And so she has many times put in her request for a baby blanket to be made for her. So when we found out that she was pregnant, I said, okay, tell me what you want. Put your order in, give me your colors, whatever you want. I will get this ready for you. So here we are. She sent me on Pinterest a few schemes of various kind of neutrally colors that they are going to be using for their child's room. And from there, I ordered some yarn and I figured out a stitch pattern, which was a little difficult because I didn't want it to be just really boring, but I didn't want it to be super complicated. But I also wanted it to look very unique and nice. Sophia, if you are watching this, look away, fast forward a minute or two. Your blanket is about to pop up on the screen. So here we are. The colors themselves are popping a lot more. They're definitely more muted in real life, but they're showing up very, very bright on camera. So we have this this is more of like a terracotta. This is more almost mustardy. If I turn this down, maybe it will. It's a little bit better. So we have a gray, kind of a burnt mustardy color, a kind of more terracotta, a white or cream, and a beautiful jade. And so those are all in there, and it's just some sort of fan stitch, which to me it was detailed with a little bit of an opening without being like very holy and airy. But it kind of had this vintage heirloom look to it. So I was thinking that I would probably do possibly 3 repeats originally to get the desired length for this, but I am now on the second color of the second repeat, and I'm kind of wondering if maybe I will only do 2 full repeats of these color blocks, which is starting with the coral, then the gray, then the jade, then the kind of creamy white. So we've got the coral, we'll finish up the gray, we'll do the jade, and then the creamy white. Probably another round of coral. This would actually make a pretty sweater. And just to make it, you know, kind of finish it off evenly, I guess. I don't know, it's just visually satisfying. And then I was thinking of doing a border in kind of the mustard. So we'll see how. I didn't swatch. I just kind of played around a little bit. I guess it was swatching, but I wasn't swatching for size. I wasn't swatching for size. It wasn't supposed to be that sort of gauge. It was just supposed to be more of a feel of how the stitch works up and looks, and is this going to be a pain in the butt to make? Is it going to be worth it? Do I want to find something else that also looks very unique but isn't necessarily going to, you know, be terribly difficult or time consuming? I mean, any blanket you make, it's going to be a tad time consuming just given the size of it, but some things you don't mind, and this is one of those things. I am using, I think it's from Lion Brand. So I have a ball band in here. Yes. It's 24/7 cotton by Lion Brand. See, and this is, oh, it is actually called Jade. Yeah. And it's 100% cotton. It's nice because it's very soft. It has almost, it's not plied. It's almost like chain, or maybe it is. It's almost like chained together, or else a very, very fine, very, very fine, twisted. Yeah, it's plied together like a 8 ply. There's a lot in there. It's very strong. It has a little tiny bit of a shine, so it's not like you're working with lilies and cream or something that you typically make like dishcloths out of. It's finer, but I figured, especially for first-time moms, it just felt like a pretty appropriate fabric. Because acrylic is really great. Acrylic is fantastic. Acrylic is fantastic for babies. Because with babies come messes. Messes that you are going to need to clean. And I have never met a mom who wants to hand wash something that their baby has messed up with bodily fluids multiple times. And if that's the case, whatever article that you have made for them, if you have to hand wash that thing, it's not going to get used. It's going to be put up on a shelf or like laid across a chair and just like looked at. And then it's never actually going to be touched until years later. Someone's going to find it in a closet and be like, oh yeah, and then it's either going to be thrown away or, you know, sent to a thrift shop, or like, oh yeah, that was your baby blanket, we never used it. So I tried to stay away from wool because that's just high maintenance. It's a high maintenance material. Acrylic is really great because you can't just throw it in the washing machine. But but I really enjoy cotton because you can also throw it in the washing machine, and it will wear a little bit nicer as it gets older, and it's not going to pill and be kind of crunchy feeling as it gets really old. And cotton is a heavier fabric, so it's a really good weight to it. So even if you're using this in the summer, which you will feel, sometimes it's nice to cuddle up, sometimes it's hot, so you have that weight to really feel like you're under a blanket, but it's not going to be as hot as putting yourself under plasticky acrylic or wool. All that to say, yeah, I'm using Lion Brand 24/7 cotton for all of these. And that's what's been taking up the majority of my time. I am very excited to see the finished product. Yeah. So hopefully it's done in time for her baby shower. If not, I know I have a little bit of time before the actual baby arrives. I do have one selfish project for myself on the needles. It's one that I'm gonna have to look at the name because I get the name wrong every single time. It is one thing, but I always want to call it another. It is a shawl by Andrea Mowry, who you can find at Andrea Renee Knits, who I just love her, and later I will actually be watching her latest episode of I'll Knit If I Want To. She is just a lovely, really calm lady, and all of her podcast episodes are just very soothing, and she answers so many questions, which even for somebody who has been knitting for like a good amount of time, there are things that I never would have thought to ask. So it's kind of cool and be like, oh, but she's just very soothing. She's very soothing, obviously very knowledgeable. Her patterns are absolutely beautiful. I have never actually knit a shawl before. I have crocheted a handful of them, but I've never knit one. So this is for me. It is probably, judging by just looking at the pictures, which go on Instagram and follow hashtag birds of a feather shawl. There we go, that's what the pattern is called, birds of a feather. I always want to call it fine feathered friends, but it's not. It's birds of a feather by Andrea Renee Knits. Judging by all of the project pictures before I got my hands on the actual pattern, it's mostly garter, a little bit of lace, no brioche, which I haven't, I mean, I guess I did brioche with the Mama cardigan, but I haven't done like full on brioche, and she is like a brioche-aholic. So many of her patterns include brioche, and I think a lot of them are two-color brioche as well. How many times can I say brioche? So, yeah, this one seemed like a pretty decent place to hop in as far as shawls are concerned. And I am using, this is a colorway called Pear, which is a fingering weight yarn. It is on a single ply, dyed for my favorite, Fiber for the People. And this is a little brighter. It's a little bit more coppery, but it is actually pretty true to color. So it's got just a little bit of greens and yellows, reds. Oh yeah, there we go. It's lovely. And working, there's something really luxurious and, I don't know, squishy feeling about working with a single ply. I guess it just is what it is. It's so squishy. But I very rarely work with single ply because in my head I'm like, oh, this is just such nice yarn. It's got to be used for something really special, which is true. But then on the other hand, doesn't everything that you make with a single ply yarn just automatically become very special just because you made it and it's also made with really delightfully squishy yarn? So I would think so. This green as a contrasting color, this is the colorway Yucca. and it is on the Kid Mohair Silk colorway. And I just kind of thought that these two together would be fun, because even though this is mainly kind of orangey red yellow, it's got little tiny flecks of green in there, which are accentuated and just kind of pick up with the Yucca. And this will be my second time making something with mohair, but the first time that I've made anything where I've been just holding the mohair in a single strand by itself, which is kind of cool. And it gives you just this slightly translucent, and it'll be really cool when it's actually blocked out and you get to see, I don't know, go look up the hashtag and see all the amazing combinations that some of these makers have done. It's just such a beautiful pattern and it's astounding. I will say, I just keep laughing, and my husband keeps laughing and wiggling his eyebrows at me every single time I sit down to knit this, because I am at the beginning stages of this, and from what I've seen in her patterns, most of her shawls are very similar shapes in this kind of just, they're almost diamondy. But because of that, you start with a point, and honestly, I keep feeling like I am just knitting myself a really fancy, hairy pair of underwear. So I'm looking forward, I am very much so looking forward to getting this to be a little more extended and a little larger and slightly less like a pair of low-rise bikini. Yeah. And that's my selfish project. Just a little bandana. But I've been enjoying it. It has not exactly mindless, but it's very, so far, I haven't gotten to the lace part yet, straightforward. And I've been trying not to focus on it because I really need to get, I don't know where it went, I really need to get the blanket going, or worked on more continuously, because that's got somewhat of a deadline. This does not, however. This has no deadline, and it's just for me. This is just purely selfish knitting. I suppose I could take the mohair out too, huh? Where did it go? I think I have shown this on a previous episode, but it is just so fuzzy. It's delightful and I love it. And maybe that's what I will sit down and work on later. I have to remember I have to take my cat to the vet, which I keep forgetting about because I just made the appointment. But he's gotta go because he's gotta get his teeth cleaned. God bless the person who brushes feline teeth. I have one more thing that I would like to show you. I've actually been working on this for a couple of years. This has been my kind of in-between projects when I lose desire to knit. Not necessarily desire, but I kind of like when you look at your projects and you know they become more of a burden and less of an interest. I guess that's how you could say it. And it's not that these are burdens, but you kind of like look at them and I'm like, I just have no desire. I just don't want to pick that up. That just doesn't seem interesting or intriguing. It feels like work. So there's this little project that I've been breaking out. I don't do this a lot. I don't do it often. And mostly because of the tools that I work with. Slowly but steadily I have been doing a cross stitch. Here, let me actually take it out of the hoop and you'll be able to see it a little bit better. I used to do cross stitch relatively often in my teens, like early teens, up through maybe like senior year of high school, and then I kind of just dropped it. My mom did it a lot when she was younger, so she has a lot of supplies that probably just made it really easy to just go in and find what I needed. And then I got married and moved away, and I really haven't done anything with it. And then I was like, you know, I looked on Etsy one day. I looked on Etsy and I realized that that is a very dangerous place for someone who enjoys buying cross-stitch patterns but may never actually get to them. Either way, I found this. It is almost done. I think somewhere in here there's supposed to be a bear, and then there's supposed to be more of these like little stars scattered throughout, but it says Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. Which, if you do not know the reference, is from The Office, which is one of my favorite TV shows. It's like a comfort show. I have seen the whole series through countless times. I don't know. There's always an applicable line from The Office, and it is just terribly familiar and wonderful, and I've gotten quite the kick out of slowly working on this. So this is one of the things that I pick up in between when I need a little bit of a restart, and yeah, nice and simple. I had kind of forgotten about it, and then I saw it up on my shelf as I'm working through all of the stitches on this blanket and just feeling really tired. Oh, but the reason why I can't just keep this hanging around is because of these little guys right here. I don't trust my kids not to jump on me while I'm holding a tiny little needle. So this is definitely a when children are asleep or I have a very quiet child-free time and I can sit and I can do this. Also, my hands get really sweaty and it's really hard to hold a needle when your hands get really sweaty. And that's all that I have for you guys today. Thanks for joining me again on another episode, sporadic though they may be. I hope that I see you a little sooner rather than later. Whatever project you've got going, there's a cat trying to get in. Whatever projects you've got going, whether it be with a little tiny sharp needle or 2 needles or a hook or who knows what, let me know what you're working on. Enjoy your spring, your summer. Happy crafting. Bye.